Welcome, everybody, to the Success Elevated podcast. I'm your host, Hayden Lee. And this week, I'm joined by my boss. He's forcing me to have him on the podcast. And no, he's not. But I am joined by managing partner of Spot On Solutions, the high Preece of marketing, Derek Preece. Thanks for coming on the show, Derek.
Thanks, Hayden. Thanks for having me.
You didn't force me to be on the podcast. I kind of forced you. It was kind of the other way around, but I'm glad to have you. I'm excited to hear your perspective on all things digital marketing, as well as the cleaning and restoration industry, because you've kind of had a hand in both for a good long portion of your life, I would say.
Are you meaning that I'm old?
No, you're young. That's what I'm saying. You're young, and you've done these for so long that it's now been a huge part of your life, right? That's what I was trying to get to.
So. That's right. I have a fair amount of experience.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let me rephrase that. Well, let's start there. So, okay. You've been part of Spot On Solutions for you guys are coming up on a decade now. But before that, you owned and operated a cleaning and restoration company.
That is correct.
How did you get started in that industry? Was that something that you wanted to be a part of from the get-go? Or what did that look like when you first started?
Oh my gosh, that is a funny story, actually. No, actually, it wasn't what my life's ambition and dream was, to be 100% honest with you. I actually was not 100% sure what my life's ambition and dream was at the time either. I just really knew that I'd always kind of had this entrepreneurial spirit, always enjoyed trying to find ways to take an idea and run with it and make money with it and go out and do things on my own, even from a young age. In high school, but how I got into this business was really kind of a fluke, to be honest with you. It was never saw myself scrubbing rugs and sucking poo out of basements.
Let's be honest. Nobody really looks forward to doing that in a given day.
It was not on my radar, but really, way back in the day, how it really all happened was my dad. My dad worked for another cleaning and restoration company in our around our home, and and he'd kind of delved into the restoration side of things, saw how that had run one of those companies to some degree, and be honest with you, he just wasn't happy working for somebody else. It seemed like he was always complaining about the work environment and that kind of thing, and I had always been looking at what could I do. I always wanted to own my own company. It just wasn't tremendous. I wasn't sure what that looked like, and so I got thinking. I was like, at the time it was cleaning carpets and sucking poo. Like, that's how I saw it, right? That's not even a joke. And I thought, man, you could train a monkey how to clean carpets. That literally was my thought process. I could train a monkey how to clean carpets, and I could at least do the job of a monkey. So, and if I could find a way to make money doing it, it couldn't be that hard. So I talked to my dad, and I was like, hey, why don't we start this carpet cleaning and restoration company together? And that was kind of the first spark of this dream of mine, and it kind of went from there. We started looking at, where to get all of our stuff. I didn't have any money. all I had was this vision or this dream of, being my own boss. All the rest of it, I guess, we just find a way is really what we went after. I literally remember though, my dad, we had come up with the name of our company. We knew what we were going to do, and uh, my wife had bought into this whole idea. And then got time to sign the papers, go down and pick up my very first van, carpet cleaning van. And I'd never owned a brand new vehicle in my life. So you got to remember, this was kind of a big event. Uh, and it was just a big white van, really. But as the night before, literally the night before, I was going to do that, my dad called me and said, "Hey, your mom and I have been thinking." He had a job, that was paying his bills, and we were getting ready to embark on this new endeavor with, very, very little. Okay, with nothing. And, he says, it's gonna be pretty hard to, feed one family versus, try to feed us both at the beginning. And so literally the night before, my dad and mom backed out of the deal. But wasn't a big deal. I was like, my wife and I were all in. So we went down, we got the van. I do. And then I also remember we had to drive to Salt Lake City to have the carpet cleaning equipment, the big machine, installed in the van. And my dad was riding with me because it was going to take a couple weeks to get it put in, and I had to have a ride home. And he's like, "Derek, are you sure you've thought this through?" Because at the time, I literally, and this sounds really dumb, but I had never cleaned a carpet before. I had never scrubbed
Oh my
a
gosh,
rug,
Derek,
not a
come
single
on.
time. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was investing a whole lot of other people's money in a dream that we had no idea where it was going to go. And Dad said to me, he's like, "What happens if you get into this and you decide it's not for you?" And honestly, I just held on to this idea that I could train a monkey how to clean carpets. And it went from there.
And at the start and at the beginning, you were the monkey. You were that monkey.
And at the beginning, and well, the entire time, like I never really left the monkey syndrome. Yeah, I was the monkey, and we literally would clean anything for any price. Like, my idea of this was my awesome marketing strategy was have my wife, because it was during the days, it was before cell phones. It was really the days before caller ID really was a big deal. You could star 69 or something like that, your phone. And I'd have my wife call all my competitors, find out how much they charge to clean carpet. And we just charge less. Like, that was our brilliant sales and marketing strategy. And I don't recommend that. And anybody that comes to me today, I would passionately tell them not to follow that strategy. It's not a good strategy. But we worked really hard, and eventually grew the company and expanded into restoration, and ended up being a really good business for us. And a lifestyle for my family.
That's awesome.
Great. Did it for 20 years. So
20 years. Yeah. You're young though, Derek. Come on. You're young. You're a young guy.
I'm still young. I started when I was 12.
There you go. That's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah.
you touched on a couple things there that I want to make sure, the people that listen to this, whatever size of audience we might have, but there were some big obstacles that I think you faced initially. A couple of those big ones there. Um, what is the mindset? And this is, going outside of cleaning and restoration, but what does it take, you think, to overcome some of those initial obstacles to become an entrepreneur? Was there do you remember a specific moment or something that was said to you? What was the mindset that it took to overcome those obstacles at the beginning?
To become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, to start your own business.
Oh, I'll tell you, I I just really for me, I hated answering to somebody else. Um, I hated putting in so much effort to do a great job to not get out of it what I felt like I should be getting, or what it was worth, I guess. But it was scary. Don't get me wrong. Like, I had to learn. I had to get over the fear of failure, right? And I knew there was really no better time. I think the thing that holds most people back from making big decisions in their lives is the fear of failing. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I've failed in my life more than I've succeeded. Honestly, like I have failed way many times more than I've ever succeeded. But uh, every time I fail, I just look at those as opportunities to learn. I mean, I learned from every failure and made sure that that didn't happen again, if that makes sense. And you know, and then the successes pay off. I mean, they outweigh the failures for sure, or else we wouldn't keep doing. It wouldn't move forward. But
Totally. No,
I
the fear thing
paralyzes people.
paralyzes people, and it's something that I hit on a couple times in some earlier episodes. But you, going going beyond what you think is capable, and for a lot of people, that's starting a business,
Hmm.
cleaning restoration, or any business. But going beyond what you think is capable is scary, and in my opinion it should be scary.
Yep.
It's what helps us know that we're human and that we're alive, right? Like life is scary in and of itself.
Yep.
um but choosing to take that step and be like, okay, it's scary, I'm going to be afraid, I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, but today I'm going to make some choices that I'm going to push forward and do this. And it's a mindset that I've seen with you, but with every entrepreneur or business owner that I've had on the podcast, that every one of them talks about, there were times we didn't know what tomorrow was going to look like, but we decided to keep moving forward. And it's hugely important.
Well, there's test time. You live a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You live a different. It's not a 9 to 5, 80 hours every 2 weeks, and you get a paycheck lifestyle. Especially not at first. Like we oftentimes didn't know where we were going to, if we were going to get paid or when. It's not like every Friday morning you get a paycheck deposited into your bank account. It is a totally different lifestyle, and you've got to be willing to go through that, I think. And if not, the security of a paycheck keeps keeps people where they're at, for
Totally.
sure, and which is great. I applaud
Yeah.
that. I think that's fantastic if that works for the majority of people, and I love that. And I
Yeah.
think it's great companies that make that possible.
Totally. Well, and even if you're not starting your own business or becoming an entrepreneur, like if you want to be a better person, whether it's within relationships, or have a better relationship with your parents, or your spouse, or your friends, or even just be better at your job. Like, it's going to be scary, and you have to be willing to make some decisions that'll help you grow.
Oh yeah.
It's that cliche phrase, right? Like, there's no growth in your comfort zone, and there's no comfort in the growth zone. Like, you have to be, that's a two-sided coin, that you
Yep.
have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone a little bit to grow, whether it's in an entrepreneurial sense, or in a personal sense. So
You just got to be really good at not being comfortable.
there you go. Yeah,
I mean, like,
be
that's
really
the
good at not
truth.
being comfortable. Yeah,
Get good at being uncomfortable.
there's that reminded me of something. There's a podcast that I listen to a lot, and I'm big. A lot of my free time outside of work is in the hunting and fishing world, and this podcast is called the Meat Eater Podcast. It's a pretty famous, well listened to podcast.
Yeah.
But one of the hosts on there talked about, he's like, I've become a better hunter and outdoorsman, not because I've gotten in better shape. He's I think in his late 40s, early 50s. He's like, a younger self could hike circles around me now, but
Yeah.
I'm a better hunter and outdoorsman now because I am comfortable with being uncomfortable. He said, I am willing to be in the woods longer than I was then, because I'm willing to be wet and miserable for longer than I was as a
Yeah.
kid. And I think that's super applicable to everyday life. Like, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
And that's,
Agree.
hugely, hugely important. We've talked about growth. We've talked about growing your business a little bit. Not just in the cleaning and restoration industry, but it is very important in that industry. Marketing. And it's a kind of a catch-all term. It can mean a lot of different things for different people. But what were some of the steps, marketing wise, that you found helped grow your business, your cleaning and restoration business?
You know what? Probably the biggest aha moment that I ever had, even to this day, now that we're in the marketing business.
Yeah. You do marketing.
Marketing
for your business,
is an everyday occurrence for me, for us. But I got to a point in my cleaning and restoration business early on, that I just figured there had to be a better way than what I was doing it. Like, this whole marketing strategy I had of putting flyers on cars and undercutting my competitors, there had to be a better way for me. I had to learn how to get more money. And honestly, I saw uh, it was a sales letter at the time from a guy named Joe Polish, and I saw it in some industry magazine or something like that, and um, I read it over. It's like a 15-page sales letter. Who writes that kind of
who writes
copy?
that?
But no, seriously, I read it over and over and over again, and he was selling. His claim was, you make more money in a month than you make all year in cleaning carpets, and which really seemed too good to be true. But I was to a point where I was like, I got to do something, and I think it cost like $1,000 to buy his course, $1,000 that I didn't have. But I, again, overcame that fear of, I was like, well, I'm gonna find $1,000 somewhere because I got to do something. And Joe Polish was and is today an amazing direct marketing guru, and I learned a ton of things. He changed my business, because what he taught me was that I'm not in the cleaning and restoration business. I'm in the marketing business. I just happen to clean carpets and do restoration. And so everything became marketing to me. Like, the whole production, from, I mean, everything from the way you write your name and address on a postcard, how everything, the whole steps, the whole show when you're in somebody's house, how you show up at the door, how you talk to somebody on the phone. The whole process is a production and it's all marketing. And when you get the marketing right, you can charge really what you want to charge. And we went from being, like I said, my marketing strategy of undercutting all my competitors to being one of the highest price per square foot carpet cleaners in the whole Southeast Idaho area, right? It was, and we started making money, and it was awesome. But yeah, so I just learned, it's like we're a marketing company who just happens to do whatever it is the service that we provide, right? So, and so everything just became marketing, and that's how we built and how we expanded into restoration. We started really building relationships and networking and getting in the brains and the minds and the hearts of our communities and customers, and that was the catapult that got us to where we wanted to go. So
Well, and not to be too much of a sidetrack because it is relating to this marketing thing that you found, but is that how Grillzilla got started? Is that how that all became a thing?
well, that was part of it, yes. And I can tell you that honestly, Grillzilla was not my I've just stolen some really awesome ideas from.
It's okay because we had
um,
Eric on a couple weeks ago and he stole your logo.
he
So
stole everything from me. No, no, be 100% honest. Larry and Eric are thieves, and they stole it all.
we're gonna have to have them both back on the podcast so they can just defend
And
themselves a little
and you
bit.
know what? I'm 100% okay with it because they're great guys. We're great friends, and you know what? And everybody's just figuring out what somebody else did and tweaking it, making it better. A mentor of mine in the business who unfortunately passed away a number of years ago, um, Kurt Bolden, uh, gave me the idea of this Grillzilla, and we had this great big smoker grill made, and we mounted it on the back of a trailer, and I mean we went everywhere. And I mean, to this day I don't eat very much pulled pork because I literally have fed thousands of pounds of pulled pork to people in my life.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I love food and I love meat more as much as anybody, but I will most always pass on the pulled pork. Sorry.
Got a little food aversion because of
Yeah.
how much you had to consume there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'd go around and and we would just set up shop and we'd feed masses of people with Grillzilla. I mean, who remembers a hamburger or a hot dog, right? But you show up to a baseball game, a little league field, and you start handing out free pulled pork sandwiches and bacon, and not charging people to do it. It becomes a
100%.
big deal. Like we fed a lot of people a lot of stuff. We just became marketing that was always on our mind, right?
Well,
So
and again, I think it's really cool, and I want to make sure people kind of hit on this point, or remember this point that you've talked about. So yeah, you're giving out free pulled pork sandwiches. You might not be able to look and see, okay, this pulled pork sandwich that I gave to this person, that person is then going to call me tomorrow to come clean their carpets. That might not happen. It
may
might
not
it,
happen.
it might not happen. But guess what? They're going to remember you. and
Oh,
they might have a neighbor that needs to clean their carpets, or a friend, or a cousin, or an aunt, or something that needs to clean their carpets. And they're gonna be like, hey, I got a pulled pork sandwich from this cool guy that owns a cleaning company, and I think he'll clean your carpets. Um,
I got so many flooded basements from
yeah,
a simple pulled pork sandwich.
yeah, and
Pulled
again,
pork.
people lose it, and we're big in, now we do the digital marketing thing, and we're big on ROI, and it's obviously important, but
Mhm.
there is ROI that you can't always track, but you have to be willing to do some of this marketing stuff, because you never know when that big flooded basement job is going to come, or
Oh, yeah.
you're going to be asked to go do some commercial carpet cleaning at some restaurant or something, because you were willing to do some of these marketing things. And yeah, you might not always be able to track that exact dollar did this for me, but it's going to pay dividends for you if you do it the right way.
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
100%. Another another thing that we did that honestly, like, people think that this is my like brainchild, but it's not. I just stole great ideas and made them better, and found ways to execute them. Another good friend of mine in the restoration industry had this idea of like flooding his own basement, his own house, and I was like, what a fabulous idea. And
And you somehow convinced your wife
I
to get on
convinced my
board with it.
wife in the middle of January in Idaho. Everything around us was frozen, snow on the ground, brand new house, brand new finished basement. Convinced my wife to let us put a 1,200-gallon swimming pool in the basement and let it all go. It was awesome. It's awesome. And literally, like, no kidding. And I've been out of I haven't had my restoration business now for 5, 6 years. I still go all over this country and people ask me, are you that guy that flooded his own basement? Eric and Larry stole the idea from me also, flooded their house. But I mean, it was like, but I stole it from somebody else too. So, um, Brad Smith, wherever you're at, brother, that made me millions of dollars.
It's so
Just
great.
that
It's such
one
a
idea, like, it was
okay. To be honest,
awesome.
outside looking in, it's such a dumb idea, but it worked. It's like it's incredible, and being willing to do those small, I guess that was a big marketing thing, but to do those things that will attract attention, will help people know. I think the big lesson with flooding your own basement is you believe in your own product. You believed enough that said, "Hey, we believe enough in this that I'm willing to flood my own basement because I know our methods will take care of this,
Would
and
be the
there's not going
best.
to be a problem."
We got
Um,
so much work simply from that one little thing, and
yeah,
the benefit to us at that particular point, which was awesome, which would have been so much better today, but at that point, Facebook had just was getting some legs,
yep,
and, so we just I mean, that was the first project that Katie and I ever did together. Like, we'd been friends for a long time. Our boys played baseball together. Her and her husband, or her husband and I coached our kids in baseball. But that whole flooding my basement thing was the first project that Katie and I did together. And now it seems like 10 years later, that's all we're doing is projects together,
yep.
marketing projects together. So,
Totally. Well,
yep.
okay, so now you're hitting on kind of the next big thing, and we'll get to how you started working with Katie and Michael, but the digital space is also hugely important for any entrepreneur or business owner, and I think is often missed in the cleaning and restoration industry, because a lot of those guys are they're blue collar. They've come into this industry from maybe another blue collar industry,
Mhm.
and they know how to maybe build relationships with people, but they just don't understand the digital space. How did you first get involved? Excuse me, in digital marketing, and what were some of I guess the pitfalls that you saw in that space?
Well, look, really, the first time I ever really got into the whole internet thing, like it started way back in my Joe Polish and Piranha marketing days. It was like the internet was just coming out. Before that, I mean, we were spending thousands of dollars every month and year on yellow page advertising. Like, and now you think of like, honestly, Hayden, when was the last time you saw a yellow pages? I
I
have
mean,
not seen one. I'll bet
yeah.
it's been at least 5 years. I haven't seen one.
Oh yeah, it's been at
Um,
least that long since I've seen one, and even longer since I've had to use one.
oh, I
Yeah.
know. Well, but the internet was coming on, and we got into building websites, and even at the very beginning. But the challenge with the internet, and it always has been, and it continues to change, and it continues to morph, and there's always something else that's getting better and making it easier to. And that's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make is they think that internet marketing is kind of a one and done thing. I Once I do it, I can just I don't have to do anything else, right? Or I build a website, but I don't ever have to touch it again. Um, or they do Google Ads and they try to, because everything on the internet you could do on your own, right?
Right.
But they get in and blow through what they think is a lot of money. It's probably $500, but spend $500 and don't get any work. And so obviously the internet thing doesn't work. Um, but regardless, in my particular situation, I didn't have time to do internet marketing on my own. Like we built, we and we're building a really nice and successful business. I didn't have time to wear that digital marketing hat. I was busy marketing, doing the other marketing stuff in my business. And the challenge is you can there's just like a lot of businesses are not regulated by the government, which I'm not saying regulations are a great thing, um, but having a little bit of oversight might not be tremendously bad, because like any Joe can, just like any Joe Schmo can start a cleaning and restoration company. I'm proof of that, right?
Any
Um,
monkey, right? Any monkey
any
can clean
monkey can
carpets.
start a restoration company. Any monkey can start a digital, can work out of their bedroom and start a digital marketing agency. And there's so much out there that, that doesn't work, or there's so much lack of integrity, so to speak, that a lot of people get burned and lose a lot of money by shysters or by people who don't really understand or know what they're doing. And that was the case for me. I'd gone through 3 or 4 different marketing agencies. I'd spent a ton of money on lots of different stuff that didn't work. I literally, before I had met, or well, I've known Michael and Kate. I've known Michael since he was 12, but but before Michael had first got into or into his marketing company, I had I'd worked with a number of people, and really right before Michael came to me, it had only been maybe a year before, we had decided that we needed to do a whole revamp of our website. Um, a guy in our Chamber of Commerce was a website designer. He he came to us and said, "Hey, look at these websites I've built." Da, 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 da. We looked at all of his work. It looked awesome. We're like, "Yeah, these are some of the things that we want this guy to design us a website." Charged us a bunch of money, and we thought our marketing was going to just be butterflies and rainbows from there, from our website.
Yeah.
And literally, like, I'm running, I'm busy, I've got tons of stuff going on. I'm trying to manage, run them jobs, run our management team, run our technical. There's lots of things I was doing. And then I remember giving this guy our credit card to start our uh, website. And then the very next thing he said to me was, "Well, great. In order to get started, I'm going to need you to write out all the content for your water damage page and write out all the content for your fire damage page. And what does this mean? And then I'm going to need you to give me like a bunch of pictures for this and that. And then I'm going to need you to write bios on this." And like literally gave me this checklist that was as long as my arm of things I needed to provide him in order for him to build me a website. And I was just like, "You got to be kidding me. Like, if I knew I was going to have to do it all myself, why did I hire you?" Right.
Right.
And that project, which I literally thought would have taken a month or two, took like 9 months to build us a new website. It's just because he was always waiting on something I had to give him, and I didn't have time to give it to him. And and then once we did get a website, it didn't change anything.
Right.
Our phone didn't ring more often. We weren't getting any jobs from it. And yeah, I'll be 100% honest with you. At the time, I didn't really understand the whole internet marketing thing. I didn't, but at the same time, neither did he.
Right. You knew you needed to be getting more than what you were getting. Yeah.
Yeah, and he took my money and ran, and well, after 9 months ran.
Right.
But so literally when Michael uh, came home, came home off his mission, started his marketing company, and then came to me, I was not in the mood to talk to another digital marketing company, even though I was really good friends with his dad and mom, even though I knew him since he was 12. I was like, so I just literally, I put him off for weeks, months, actually. I mean, but the guy just kept coming back. I'm like, dude, the guy's got to eventually stop. But he didn't. And eventually I figured I was going to get a phone call from his dad wondering why I was ghosting his son so bad.
Yeah.
But no, seriously though, I finally gave him a listen, and he, for the first time, in all of my experience with digital marketing, at least what he was telling me made a whole lot of sense.
Right.
He'd yet to prove it to me, but at least what he was telling me made a lot of sense. And so
I feel like initially with the thing that might have set Michael apart for you, and a thing that a lot of specifically the industry that we work with, the cleaning and restoration industry, they miss out on is tracking where their digital marketing dollars are going. And a big way that we track that is through call tracking. Call tracking is hugely important. It's something that we talk about on a daily basis. You have to know where your calls are coming from. The majority of business for cleaning and restoration companies is coming from people going to their website or seeing a truck drive by that's got their phone number on it, and they call that number and they're requesting services. And you have to know, okay, where is this call coming from? Was it from a click on a Google ad? Was it from a click on my website? Was it from a click on my Google My Business profile? You've got to be able to track those so that you can figure out where your dollars are going. And I think that for you, if my stories are lining up correctly, that for you was a turning point for you in your business, that you found out, hey, I could actually track where my digital marketing dollars are going, and that can really help take you to the next level. Is that kind of what was a turning point for you as far as working with Katie and Michael?
That was a big deal. Yes. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, I was super intrigued by that because, like today, like it almost goes without saying that, if you're going to do digital marketing, you got to track your calls. Like
Right.
conversations I have today with people about tracking calls is a whole lot different than what it was 10 years ago about tracking their phone calls. Like everybody had spent all this money on vanity numbers and like 1-800 call me when you're flooded, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Right.
Um, eh, anyway, they had all these, and the whole concept of call tracking numbers was foreign to them. Plus, well, what is people gonna, they're not gonna remember my vanity number, right? Well, like,
Right.
but in today's market, like no one remembers your number anyway. It's on their
Seriously.
phone, right? They better be able to just click to call it. But that was super intriguing to me, was the fact that finally I was going to be able to tell what funnels were flushing dollars and which ones were cashing in on. And so yeah, and that was amazing, except for when it actually started working.
Why do you say that, except for when it actually started working?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, aside from marketing, there's a lot of other things that you got to do in your business to make money
Right.
and to make it successful. All the best marketing in the world is only as good. It's only as good as your ability to capitalize on the call, right?
Yep.
And
Sales. Yep.
you got to be able to sell something. Not only that, but you got to care that you sell something, right? And that was a big aha moment to me. We started recording phone calls from people or from our clients, and I learned we weren't doing so well in the whole closing jobs category.
Yeah.
And that to this day, that's one of my biggest frustrations. Um, I had built a really, in my opinion, a decent business. We were busy. We had trucks on the road. We had hammers in the air. Had drying equipment pointed at a whole lot of walls, right? Um, but and I had people that worked for me, had been working with me for a long time. I thought I had and I did. I had fantastic people. Um, but I remember Michael. I was driving home on a Friday evening, and I got a phone call from Michael, and it had only been a short period of time that they started doing that he had started doing my marketing for me, and it was Friday, and my guy's like, "Hey, Michael, what's going on?" And he's like, "Hey, man, I got some good news and I got some bad news." I'll never forget this call as long as I live.
Okay.
Honestly, there are people in my organization that would never forget that call either for what had happened following that call. But um, uh, I'm like, "Well, great, it's Friday. Tell me the good news." And he said, "Hey, well, I just want to let you know that what we're doing is working. Like we're getting leads from your website, from Google Ads. It's paying off. This week we got 6 brand new calls. All of them came from either Google Ads or from an organic search to your website." I'm like, "That's fantastic," because from a business point of view, I'm looking, okay, 6 leads equals X number of dollars. We should be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And I was like,
6
that's the
calls,
way to
that's 6 jobs, right? Yeah.
6 jobs. That's the way to end a Friday, end a week, right? And I was like, well, hey, that's fantastic. Great job, Michael. You're the first guy that's been able to get phone calls for me. I was like, what's the bad news? He said, well, the bad news is that your people who are answering your phones are having a little bit of a struggle closing those leads and getting opportunity, getting into the house. Like, so he's like, of the calls that you got, you only got like one appointment. And I'm like, what? He's like, and then he says to me, and if I could have crawled through the phone and choked him, I would have, just because it was more ticked me off than anything. But he's like, maybe we should sit down together next week and craft some kind of a phone script or something that we could teach your people how to answer these phone calls that are coming in. And I'm like, do not patronize me.
I already have a phone script.
I am a successful business owner. I've already got phone scripts. My people use them and they're the best. I literally don't, I can't fathom the idea that they aren't closing these leads. He's like, well, I've listened to the calls and this is what I'm telling you. It's like, he even tells me, he's like, don't shoot the messenger. And I literally did. I was like, you send me those calls. You give me the login and so I can listen to them. I told you that was Friday afternoon,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, I went home and I pulled out my computer and logged into my call tracking account and started listening to calls. And that was the worst night of my life. My entire business career, that was the night I literally could have went to jail for killing somebody had I not been sitting in my house. I was so mad. I was like, could not believe that my people who've worked for me forever flushed all of these opportunities. Anyway, and I was upset. I was super upset. But I had the whole weekend to think
calm
about
down.
it, calm down.
Yep.
I realized that, you know what? It wasn't their fault that they suck. It was my fault for not giving them the right tools and the right training, the right oversight and the accountability to make them better.
Yep.
And that was the biggest takeaway and aha moment of mine was I realized that I had failed them as a leader. And but because of that changed my company. I dove into figuring out how to close jobs on the phone.
Totally.
And
well, and
how to teach my people how to do it. And
yeah.
From that day on, I've been a cheerleader, a coach. I getting people to learn to answer the phones and understand that that's the most important thing. All the calls in the world are only as good as your ability to close them when they come.
100%. Well, and a lot of times it's your customer's first interaction with you. So
Yep.
It has to be good. It has to be professional and it has to be straight to the point. Otherwise, you're just not gonna, it's so great to do all of this digital marketing stuff. We're going to run ads for you. We're going to track your phone calls. Like you said, we're going to do all this stuff. But if you can't close the deal, if you're not prepared, if your team is not prepared to close the deal, you're never going to make any money from it.
Right.
And it's an issue that, it was an issue for you 10 years ago, and me, who's has been helping people with their digital marketing now. It's an issue that still goes on today. I have clients that we've had to have conversations about how can we help close more deals through these phone calls because the people that are answering the phone are not closing it for you. So we've
Your
got to have a
marketing's working,
your
right?
marketing.
Your marketing's
We are
working.
bringing you phone calls. That's what you wanted, right? You
Yeah.
want more phone calls, but you're not closing the deal. So we've got to have a conversation of how we can remedy this.
I literally had a conversation with a guy, a gentleman this morning who
Yeah.
had just purchased a franchise from a well-known franchise group in the cleaning and restoration industry. He had just finished up training, getting ready to open his door to business in like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, well, here's what we need to do. And I said, but let me ask you this question before, as you're kicking this whole thing off. I asked him, I was like, who's going to answer your phones? He says, well, initially it's going to be me. I was like, good. I was like, the number one thing you can do is learn how to answer your phone calls and to learn how to close deals on the phone. I was like, and I told him, I was like, I'm gonna send you some phone scripts. And I was like, and I want you to learn them. Like, because this is what's going to get you able to close these opportunities. And so, yeah, it's the most important thing. Your person answering the phones is the most important person in your business.
Totally. Well, and it's yeah, sales is such a hugely important thing. Yeah. um, I've talked about my dad a handful of times on the podcast, but he's in sales. That's what he does for a living, and he's his own boss, but that's all he does is sales. And he's done it for decades. He's been in sales and management for decades now. And even him, who knows what he sells, he's good at it, he believes in his product, even he has to have a call script. And I noticed in his office, taped behind his computer, he's got some call scripts taped up there. And it seems like a dumb, dorky thing for people that aren't in this day to day, but it's so important. Something as simple as having it written down what you're going to say when somebody calls or when you call somebody can be the difference between making money that day and not making money.
It's the 100% truth.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it is the difference. That's the game changer. And how to overcome objections to specifically price, right?
Yep.
But how to lead a conversation, and ultimately get to the doorstep. Like,
Yep.
in my opinion, your marketing, number one, is never done, right? But especially until there's ink on the on the contract, right? You've got to be great at sales. So
Totally.
especially answering the phone. So
I don't want to fast forward too far, but I wanted to talk a little bit about today and what your day looks like nowadays. You've gone from owning your own restoration company to now you own a digital marketing agency with Katie and Michael, and it's a product that you believed enough in when you owned your own business that now you're selling that product. You're selling that service of helping people grow their business through digital marketing. What do you think? What does the future look like for Spot On Solutions? I know your day to day is heavily built around sales, but what are you looking forward to in the future for Spot On Solutions in the digital marketing space?
Holy cow, that's a great question. And that changes on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But you know what? And Katie said this, Michael said this, like our mission, our culture is all around, elevating people and businesses. Like, we live that, right? And so we're constantly on the lookout, looking and finding ways that we can help elevate people and businesses, our clients, our our staff, our families, whoever it is. We're looking for ways that we can give them better tools, better relationships, whatever it is. And so, digital marketing is not going to go away for sure. I mean, like, this little device never goes farther than 2 to 3 feet away from any person. So that's not going to change. It's just going to get bigger. We are finding ways that we can bring resources, trusted, valuable resources to our clients, to potential clients that may not even be in the digital marketing space, but they need them to be successful in their business. We are all over this country at different events, meeting new people, connecting with great companies. And one of the things we're doing is trying to find ways to connect the dots between other people and businesses and other venues. One of the things I'm super excited about, and it has nothing to do with Spot On Solutions, but is this thing called the Restoration Golf League.
Yeah.
Like, the concept behind it is so different than when I had my cleaning and restoration company. Trying to build relationships with the people that you're competing with,
Yeah.
And how that can better everybody's organization. I mean, it's like, when I owned my cleaning and restoration company, it's like we did everything we could do to be better and to compete and get all the business we could. And we looked oftentimes, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but we looked at our competitors as enemies, right? And and that's just how the world was. And I see that so different now. Like, a good friend of mine and a client, Kenyon, you had Kenyon on your podcast,
Yeah.
on the podcast, and he sees things so much different, and he builds relationships with his competitors, and his competitors are friends of his. I literally saw him 2 weeks ago at an event with
a
a
competitor,
very close competitor.
Yeah.
And they're friends, and they collaborate, and they help each other grow their business. And what a fantastic idea, and that is. And so, we're building relationships with, like, the Restoration Golf League, to help business owners, restoration people, enhance and build relationships with peers of theirs in their markets.
Yep.
And what a fantastic concept. At some point, you need to have Peter on the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
His vision for the Restoration Golf League is awesome, and has nothing to do with digital marketing.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
It's just us trying to work together to connect dots between business owners.
Well, and it's, to call back to what you said earlier, when you started your cleaning and restoration company, you found out fairly quickly that you were a marketer that happened to clean carpets, and that's how you helped people.
Yep.
I think that is super similar to what we do here at Spot On Solutions and, Get Found First. Is we are a marketing agency first that just happens to do digital marketing. We are in the business of elevating people and businesses to be the best that they can be. And we just happen to, right now, a big part of that is through the digital space, but we're looking for ways to to do that any way that we can. And, it might be building a relationship with the Restoration Golf League, or partnering up with other affiliates or partners that are also trying to help restoration companies. And that's a way that we can find to elevate others. But
funneling great information through a podcast to, I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome, the reach that you can get and the influence that you can have, that other professionals can have on people if they can get in front of them. So totally. I love it. That's the focus. That's what we're doing.
That's awesome.
Business. It's really cool.
Well, I'm excited for the future of Spot On Solutions, because I get to be a part of it in some small way. So, I want to close with my 3 questions that I ask everybody.
Okay.
I gave them to you in advance, so I'm really excited to hear what you got for me. But I want to start. First things first. What's a book or podcast that you're reading or listening to right now that you're enjoying?
Well, I mean, I'm always learning. So, and from a podcast standpoint, obviously your podcast is,
thank you. Good answer. Good answer.
Success Elevated podcast is pretty awesome. I listen to a lot of, my faith, and my belief system in God is the driving force in my life. And God and family are my top priorities. So I listen to a lot of faith-based podcasts, a lot of faith-based talks, and obviously read a lot of those types of things. My favorite, I have 3 favorite books, 2 of which, it's kind of funny because my 2 business partners are reading these books as well too. The Atomic Habits is a big part of my life. I think I love that book. But one of the books that I am most intrigued by, matter of fact, not intrigued by, I love this book. I bought into this whole concept of marketing, and we do a lot of sharing of this whole concept, but is Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big proponent of Donald Miller's and building that story brand, and telling a story in order to engage your clients is a big deal. So that's probably the best. That's probably the book that I'm into the most, and especially right now.
That's a big time reference that we talk about a lot in our agency. The idea of story brand, and that our clients, as much as we love our clients, they're not the heroes in their story. Their customers have got to be the hero in their story in order for them to really help them and grow their business. So it's a cool it's a cool concept.
Huge.
Next question. Second question is, I know you've got a lot on your plate. You own a marketing agency, and you're dealing with a lot going on. How do you recharge and reset at the end of a long day?
There's a lot of things that I do, but I love to golf.
Of course.
It's another reason why this whole Restoration Golf League thing
it's pretty intriguing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But no, I love to golf. That's the one place in the world, even though I suck at golfing, like I love to be on a golf course. I have a very strict, no cell phone policy on a golf course. So the world could come crashing in all around me and I would never know until after the round is over. I love baseball. I love the Boston Red Sox. I think you know that, but I love baseball in general. I love being close to, and now that I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm close to a baseball park, and I love just being able to close the computer at the end of the day and see who the Rangers are playing and head down to the park. So, and spending time with we just did that. Monday night, my wife and my kids at home, just, hey, the game starts in 30 minutes. They're playing the Astros. You guys want to run down and see if we can get tickets? And half hour later, we were sitting in the ballpark watching the game, and it was awesome.
That's awesome.
And
so cool.
So, and just, yeah, doing stuff with my family and doing, exercising my faith through, service and in church and that kind of stuff. That's how I relax and recharge.
Awesome. That's great. Last question. If you could rewind to the beginning of your entrepreneurial days, back when you thought a monkey could clean carpets, what would you tell younger Derek Preece? What would be one thing that if you could rewind the clock and tell yourself, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, that list is long. And reason is because I got into business and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I wish I would have tuned into and got into mentors and coaches sooner than I did. Matter of fact, I wish I would have had a mentor when I started my company. I think it would have saved me a lot of the mistakes, I think, and the pitfalls that I made. So mentoring, coaching, that I think professionals, superstars don't get there without a coach, without mentors, right? And we can always, everybody can use the help of a coach. So that's probably what I would, if I was to do it all over or go back, I would have found a coach a lot sooner.
That's awesome. Finding a mentor is hugely important, and I consider you, Derek, one of my mentors, and I'm happy to be a part of Spot On Solutions, and happy to be able to help people elevate, their businesses and themselves, hopefully through marketing. So it's really, really cool.
Well, I'm super glad that you're part of our family and are part of our team.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's a great job. It's a great thing we got going here. So.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. I'm excited for people to hear this and hopefully take some things, both marketing wise, but also sales, and hopefully they can apply it to whether they're starting a business or just trying to better themselves. And so I want to say thanks. Thanks again for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.
All right. See you, Hayden.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe on any major podcast platform or check out our website at successonpoint.com.